Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Municipality of Monroeville's regular council meeting. Today is Tuesday, May 9th, 2017, approximately 7 p.m. If we'd all kindly rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mayor Cinco.
Here.
Mrs. Gatos.
Here.
Dr. Griesbach.
Here.
Mr. Harvey.
Here.
Mr. Johns. Mr. Clary. Mr. Duncan.
Here.
Mr. Wilson.
Aye.
Mr. Little.
Here.
Mr. Ratcher.
Here.
Ms. Rock.
Here.
Mr. Hugus.
Here.
Mr. Sedlak. Mr. Weldon.
Here.
Ladies and gentlemen, just so you know, Mr. Johns is a little under the weather, and Mr. Calaria is unable to attend. He had an issue, and I'm not quite sure what it was, but all of us are ready. And then Mr. Sedlak, he has a family issue as well. So with that, I just want to announce that we did have an executive session prior to tonight's meeting from 6:45 to about 6:50 p.m. Legislative action, if taken, will be addressed this evening, and that was for legal and personnel. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, forgive me, I'm going to open up for public comment on the proposed agenda items only. Proposed agenda items only. Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the meeting.
Well, wait a minute. Didn't we sign in to speak?
Well, that's why I asked. I'll let that open. You can certainly
We
address.
usually call the names.
You have to call
She was
them in.
waiting for you.
Oh, okay.
I'll get it for you, boss.
All right.
Thanks, Robert.
I do apologize. Mark Risco.
I'm not on the, not for the proposed agenda item.
Okay. Betsy Desmond, that's okay. Debbie Izok. You're right.
She's on the presentation.
Doreen
There we go.
Velvro.
There you go.
Varolo.
Varolo. I'm sorry, I couldn't read your writing. I apologize. State your name for the record that you do live in Monroeville.
Doreen Varolo. I live in Monroeville, and I am the president of the Glenwood Condominium Association, which represents 200 owners of townhomes on Old William Penn Highway. I would like to introduce to you some of my Glenwood residents. Oh.
Well, there's 2 or 3 here. Huh?
I would like to clarify that Glenwood is not against any new business development on Old William Penn Highway. We have a concern about the new proposed development, but I would like you to understand that we've always supported Brewster's, we supported Johnny Mac's, we support Giant Eagle Shopping Center, we shop at Giant Eagle. Our concern is the lack of parking at this proposed development. Now, we have spoken at the zoning meeting, we have been to the planning meeting, we've been to Citizens Night, and so I'm not going to reiterate all of our points, but there is one that we are greatly distressed over, and that is the 65 spaces of parking in this proposed development. Now, it is a 75,000 square foot social hall with 4 retail spaces. That means retail space employees, that means retail space customers, that means guests that are going to a function, that means cooks, busboys, waitresses are all going to park in the 65 spaces of parking, and that concerns us. Now, we understand that it has shrunk to a 90-person occupancy in the social hall, which makes it 3,000 square feet. There will be 14 tables at 6 chairs at a table. Now, we have 54-inch rounds in Glenwood, and we seat 8 people at 54-inch rounds. So if you're going to have only 84 guests in 3,000 square feet, that's a very, very large area to accommodate a function. According to the guest capacity calculator, which restaurateurs and social hall owners use, 3,000 square feet can seat at 54-inch round tables 250 guests. So, how do we know that there are going to be 84 guests in this very large structure? Well, I understand there's going to be self-regulation by the owners. As you heard Michael McKay say, who is a restaurant owner here in Monroeville, that self-regulation is not very realistic because it allows for abuse of the regulation. Is this owner going to be present at every function? Is the self-regulation going to be, if we question, whoever questions the number of people over there, what law enforcement agency goes in there to count the people? It just doesn't seem realistic. Many of you are business owners. Would you turn down a function that's coming in with 101 people because you can only seat 84? It just doesn't make good business sense that you would have a 3,000 square foot inside a 7,500 square foot and seat 84 people. So as we had said before, what is the fine for the infractions on these self-regulations? We never received an answer for that. Our second concern is the concern for the safety. Old William Penn Highway is not a very safe street. As you know, the guardrail butts right up to the street. When Glenwood was built, we were a sidewalk to nowhere. When Beatty Point was built, it has a sidewalk to this day, to nowhere. All new businesses had to have a sidewalk. Well, when Brewster's moved in, they built a sidewalk, so now we have a continuation. It is a dangerous road, and we still feel that there are going to be people walking up and down that road in order to use this particular facility. We ask you, if the parking is going to remain at 65, there's been no change to the footprint. There's only been a change to the occupancy, which leads to the 65 parking spaces. We urge you, do not approve this project because of the limited parking and of the safety issues on Old William Penn Highway. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Okay, Bill, and I can't make your last name out.
I'm not on the agenda.
Oh, okay. Cornrum, is that you?
That's me.
All righty, I just noticed that. I'm looking in the back. All righty. How about Mary Lou Eshaw?
I want to speak in regards to the mail proclamation.
Oh, okay.
That's-
Patricia Wen? We should have maybe had 2 lists, huh?
Yeah.
Hi, Patricia. State your name for the record.
Patricia
You do live in
Wen.
Monroeville.
I live in Monroeville, Shackleford Drive. I also have the same concerns that the people in the Glenwood Condominium Association have. I live right above Old William Penn Highway. The traffic there now is already horrendous. I've spoken with a lot of my neighbors. They are totally against it. I was out of town all last week, but I did manage to get some of my neighbors to sign a petition with comments as to why they are opposed to it. There's already too much traffic, There's already too many vacant storefronts in the Monroeville area. We've had flooding, as the residents of Glenwood know very well, down in that area. I believe it was 2 years ago. The firemen had to rescue a lady in front of the get-go because her car was floating around down there,
That is true.
just as a result of a heavy rainfall. This is a view off of my deck, and you can see that the property is covered with trees.
If you put that in the middle,
Thing there, they can put it on the camera.
Put that on that X there, ma'am.
right there.
Is that good?
It's right above you. There you Can you blow that up, Joe?
Yeah.
I may have another one that doesn't have
zoom in.
the sun shining on it quite so much.
He's there.
There you go.
Okay, but as you can see, the whole area is covered with trees, and that, without a doubt, helps to retain a lot of the rainwater that would otherwise be flowing down onto Old William Penn. I was just curious, as I had some questions about the parking requirements, but of course that has already been addressed. And I was wondering if there are any pending approvals yet from the county for the developer, if those have all been taken care of. If you have the county permits, like the occupancy permit, the stormwater compliance, and the highway compliance, and things like that. So those are questions for the developer. It also is not going to help the value of our property whatsoever. I mean, like I said, this is the view off of my deck. You can see my driveway on this drawing. Jan Rawson, my neighbor, who, due to ill health, is not able to be here this evening, her property is right below mine. And it's just, I just think it's a total disaster for the entire area.
Thank you.
You can
you.
take your picture, man.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I'll leave the floor open. Are their names on there, but obviously not on this one particular item. But anybody else would like to address council, come on up. On agenda items only, agenda items only. At the very end, as you all know, ladies and gentlemen, we'll open the floor up for any municipal item that you would like to address.
Thank you for the opportunity to
State
speak.
your name for the record, sir.
Jeff Schlafer. I live in the Glenwood community for approximately 11 years. I echo some of the comments that, one, I want to thank the distinguished members of the panel and all guests. I echo some of the concerns that Doreen mentioned, but I'm also taking a look, somebody mentioned property values. Let's take a look at Glenwood and what's happening. Very well-respected community, I'm sure everyone will agree. Yet the demographics are changing. A lot of the folks that live there are moving up in years and have decided to stay. And now we have an influx of younger folks who are building their families. My concern really echoes into the safety factor. Frankly, I just had an accident on Old William Penn Highway. I was very cautious. It is a dangerous strip of road. And I fear that the overflow parking will come in to the community. Will come in to the community. Where else could they possibly go? I just don't think it's... I don't think we've done enough research or study in this proposal. Also, I agree on property values as well. This community has based its reputation on, one, cleanliness and the ability to really hold the property in very high esteem in terms of its physical plant. I'm very concerned with individuals coming into the community, and if everyone recalls the horrible situation with Glenwood burglaries a few years back. The police stated that they felt they were outsiders who somehow worked in the area, be it Brewster's or what have you, and I don't want us to be set up in a situation where there's a possibility that we bring, again, outsiders into a very controlled community. It is not gated. So I ask you to consider the proposal very carefully before you move to approval, and I thank you for the opportunity to speak.
You're welcome, Jeff.
Thank you.
Once again, ladies, come on up, sir. Please sign in, state your name for the record.
Sure. I'm Joel Staffolino, and I'm here with the Glimsher Group, which owns the Giant Eagle and the Gander Mountain Center, which is right at the corner we've been talking about.
Did you
And
sign in, sir?
I didn't.
Okay, if you would, please.
Yeah, sorry about that. I didn't know the protocol. We're very pro-business. We like to see new things coming to Monroeville. The only concern we've had with this are two, really. And one is the impact it'll have on storm drainage with expanding that property and potentially paving a big part of it. We had a pretty huge culvert collapse a couple years ago.
Well aware of that.
Well aware of that. And, hundreds of thousands of dollars later, the engineer's report really said some of it was from your property, some of it was from the buses driving through, but a big part was from all the adjacent property kind of draining through that same culvert. So we certainly don't want to add any stress to that now that it's been repaired and we're back up and running. And the second concern we have is with this sort of use, just overflow parking. It's a natural, as people have mentioned, if there's not enough parking there, it's a natural thing to say, well, we'll just park over there for the night. That tends to turn into, well, we'll just leave the car there tonight and we'll take an Uber home, which has a negative impact on our businesses the next morning. And we've struggled to keep that center full. So certainly don't want to be anti-business or anti-development. We just wanted to state our concerns for everybody.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, this is your opportunity to address any agenda item. Anybody else would like to speak on agenda items only? Okay, we'll move over to some presentations. And Debbie Izok from Spectrum School, Touch a Truck event. So Deb, please come on up, sign in, state your name for the record, and state your case.
Good evening, Debbie Izok, and I am a resident of Monroeville, Ward 1. And I'm here to share some good news, some fun news with everyone, with the community. Spectrum Charter School is located on Northern Pike, and we are, for the second year, presenting the community with a fun family community activity called Touch a Truck. We did this last year, and even though last year it rained on us...
Debbie, if you can turn that around in some seconds.
Certainly. We had a great turnout last year. We are expecting and have planned for an even larger event this year. In addition to, we have about 20-some cool trucks, fire trucks, just some fun things for kids of all ages to get up and close to and then enjoy some family outdoor time. We also are doing a family expo, a Be Well family expo inside, so there will be a lot going on, including our K-9 Officer Diesel will be there with his partner, Officer Mike Kohlberg, and we would just like to invite everybody to come and enjoy a great opportunity to meet their neighbors. The event is from 10 to 3. It is free and open to the public, but it is meant as a fundraiser for the school, so there will be some fundraising going on. With some food trucks that we have coming in, a bake sale, some great raffle baskets, and some other opportunities. One of the things that we are very proud of is that Spectrum Charter School is now being recognized by the Allied Allegheny County as a partner with the Live Well program.
Perfect.
Yes, we are very, very proud and very pleased to do that.
Great.
The Allegheny County will be there that day, and so I'd like to invite all members of council, if you are available, to come and take part and be part of that presentation. It is scheduled for approximately 1:15. So come over. It is at Gateway Number 4 Fire Hall, and we'd love to see you there. Any questions that I could answer for anyone?
No, but thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Deb. Okay, we're going to do the Alon Banner Communities, and Crystal, is she here? There you are. Come on down, Crystal. You're sneaking out the door.
I was going to say, that was some perfect timing
I was
otherwise.
fighting a cold. I was trying not to cough in the room. Thank you.
Please sign in, state your name for the record.
Certainly. My name is Crystal Sickles, and I am the Director of Communications and Events with the Allegheny League of Municipalities. Thank you very much for having me. There are some familiar faces in the room. The Allegheny League, our mission is to foster local government in Allegheny County in western Pennsylvania. And we do that by encouraging elected officials to pursue professional development and education, as well as intergovernmental cooperation. One of the ways we do that is through a program called the Banner Community Program. This program was instituted many years ago, and we are up to 51 local communities in Allegheny County. This program really recognizes the municipalities that exemplify good government, sound fiscal practices, and educated elected officials. And we're so happy and pleased to have Monroeville be involved with that. You guys are really good stewards to your community and really involved with our local association. So we thank you for that. The reason I'm here specifically is because this year Alon was really pleased to secure a sponsorship of this program, and through that sponsorship we are going to reinvest our resources into the community, and we were able to provide scholarships to 5 municipalities to attend our spring educational conference, and Monroeville has been awarded one of those scholarships. So I have this lovely certificate to present to you. We'll put it there. As a result of your Banner Community status, your community has been awarded 1 scholarship to the Spring Educational Conference in 2018. So we are really grateful for your participation, for your stewardship, and your leadership as a good governing municipality here in Allegheny County. Thank you.
Oh, no, thank you. Thank you.
I'm going to leave some newsletters and some cards if anybody would like any information about Alon. Any questions? You guys good?
Any questions, Council? Crystal, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Crystal.
And just for the folks know, I do work with Crystal on one of our boards. She has us and another board, the Alon board.
I have a number of boards.
And of course, a number of them, I agree with that. But, you're a joy to work with. Thank you.
You also, Mayor. Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much.
Okay, this is another one. It's a proclamation about Mellon Plan, and is that you, Mary Lou? You were going to come up and talk about it a little bit, so why don't you come on up? You already signed in. Just state your name for record.
All right. My name is Mary Lou Eshaw. I've been a resident of Mellon Plain for over 60 years. I wish it was my age. And what I want to tell you is, my husband was the honorary mayor of Mellon Plain. That name was given to him by the men that work on the borough and the number 3 fire hall. And so that's what my affiliation is with where I live. I had to live with the honorary mayor. You didn't know you had competition.
Well, that's true. That's good.
But anyhow, that's what I said. I even have a copy of his death certificate. They even put that on his death certificate that he was the honorary mayor of Mellon Plain.
There you go.
That's how important that was. But anyhow, I just got to tell you that now I have the name Mrs. Mayor.
There you
So
go.
I just want to tell you that I was a resident of up there for over 60 years. So it really is a nice area, and we're proud of it.
We appreciate that.
Yes, so we're happy
agree.
with.
Thank you
with
for
the-
coming out tonight.
Thank you for coming up.
Thanks.
You know, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to I got a couple of things I'm going to read, but I do have a proclamation. For those of you who don't know, it's their 100-year anniversary this year for Mellon Plan. Okay, so at any rate, though, the Fort Walden Homeowners Association convinced the Mellon Plan Homeowners Association of the need for a volunteer fire company, and Mellon Plan joined with the association to form Patton Township Volunteer Fire Department number 3. At this time, they purchased a 1936 Chevy chassis for $200. God, I wish that was the case.
Wow.
Holy hell. On which the firefighters required a pump, a 50-gallon, I'm sorry, this is the writing's a little bit thin on this, 50-gallon booster tank and a hose bed from the original truck. This fire truck was then housed in the building that was donated to the fire company by John Galbraith. The upper proportion of the building had to be renovated to accommodate the truck and the equipment. One had to be extremely cautious when parking the vehicle in the building. Backing up too far would place an excessive amount of weight on the floor of the building, which possibly could result in the truck ending up in the basement. The 1936 Chevy was in service until 1953, at which time the company purchased a new 1953 Ford Hub pumper. The vehicle cost $10,500. Gee, I wish that was even true.
Yeah.
So again, you know, as you can see, I'm going to read a proclamation. We did find some information for you all. It was a little tougher than we thought, and there was a couple of us looking, but it says, whereas in 1889, Westinghouse broke ground for the air brake works, and whereas homes were built including projects to grade, the paving of the streets, the installation of sewer lines, and the construction of sidewalks to accommodate the influx of workers. Whereas bungalows were built in the area of Patton Township, known as Boyd Hill, in 1917-1918, and whereas Mellon Plan in the Patton Township was also developed to accommodate the influx of workers for the newly developed manufacturing plant in 1917. Now therefore, I, Gregory H. Aracinko, Mayor of the Municipality of Monroeville, Pennsylvania, recognize all the citizens of Mellon Plan on their 100-year anniversary and do declare the month of May 2017 as Mellon Plan Month throughout the municipality of Monroeville, and wish all the citizens much success in the future. And I'd like to present that to you, if I may.
Oh, thank you.
Joe, you want to put up the picture?
You were very instrumental.
Rob, you got to get in there.
Tell him. He was the president since, well, you've been a member since 1950. Right. So let's give him a nice round of applause.
I've spent a couple hours in the social hall there.
Yep, come on up. You think so, Steve?
It's a very nice place.
Please sign in.
I already
That's right.
Before Debbie talks, I just want to really thank Mr. Little, Mr. Aracinko, Debbie Izzy, the Historical Society, the Monroeville Library. Everybody was an instrumental part of putting together what we came up with for the proclamation. Thought it was going to be easy, open up some books and there it would be, but it wasn't as easy as we had hoped to find the information. So I hope that you're pleased with it. It was very exciting to us to see 100 years celebrated by Mellon Plan, and we appreciate your residency.
Thank you.
So, okay.
So Mellon Plan is kind of tucked away. I'm sorry, my name's Debbie Hizzy, and I live in Mellon Plan, Monroeville. And Mellon Plan is kind of tucked away in Monroeville where most people don't even realize it is Monroeville. It's kind of up there on the hill, and it's a great place to live. I know Steve has been here on council for many years, but actually his uncle, was it?
Well, my sister
Tony?
and brother-in-law lived there for 40 years.
And that was Tony LaGorga
Tony
and Loretta?
and Loretta LaGorga.
And interestingly enough, Loretta had one time told me that her and Tony lived up there in Mellon and there were many couples that lived up in Mellon that were friends and became husband and wife. And Loretta and Tony were one of them. We also have another couple up there in Monroeville that, in Mellon that is also the young man. His name's Eric, and his wife's name is Jennifer. They grew up as high school sweethearts, and then they married, and they still live in Mellon. My husband and I are also a couple like that. We meaning my mother, and myself, my family, started in Mellon when I was 10 years old and met the paper boy. And now the paper boy...
There he is.
There's the paper boy.
We thought you were trying to hide.
And the paper boy married me. So we have several relationships that started on Mellon as high school sweethearts and continued. There was actually no divorces from those couples that became from sweethearts to having a marriage together, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Because most of them started at such a very young age.
Yeah, there wasn't much you could do in Mellon that your neighbors didn't know.
That's correct.
I
And
don't know what
also
that means, Steve.
also in Mellon we had a lot of families that were generations after generations. The other thing that was kind of neat too was we would have people that would come into Mellon that had special services, such as the Umbrella Man. I don't know if that rings a bell to anybody. Or the Scissor Man. Or the Huckster Man.
Okay.
So I don't know if anybody remembers those. Anybody have a hand up that remembers the Scissor Man, the Umbrella Man, the Huckster Man? We don't have those kind of things anymore, but those were the kind of things that showed up in Mellon. And if you need your scissors sharpened, you had to wait for the Scissor Man to come to sharpen your scissors.
Wow.
So there's a lot of history in Mellon. I also have some neighbors that came and spent the evening here with us, and I hope that they're willing to share some information. I was wondering if Diane could come forward and talk a little bit. Diane is living in Mellon. She has a very unique home. Her home, we call on Mellon is the island, because her house is in an area where there's nothing around it but a road, and it's a little island. So if you come through Mellon there and you're on Thomas Street, you'll end up where near the park is, and there's a home there, and it's just in the middle, and we call that the island, and that's Diane's house. So Diane has a lot of information to share that she's going to share with you about Mellon.
Thank you very much.
Diane, if you'll sign in, please state your name for the record.
My name is Diane. I'm Diane Bill Banks, and I'm related to the Lesters.
Oscar.
That's my uncle.
Okay.
When I was approached by Mrs. Hizzy on Sunday, I was surprised because I didn't know any of this was in the works, and I misunderstood. I thought it was planning for the 100th centennial as opposed to being the proclamation. So I'm not really prepared, but the only thing I can say is I'm part of the family. I'm third generation on Mellon My grandfather and my grandmother bought the property from Mr. Galbraith in, I think, the late 30s, and they actually moved into the house in 40 or 41. Initially, my grandfather only wanted to buy 2 acres. When he approached Mr. Galbraith, the comment was, "Excuse me, sir, I'm interested in buying some property."
And because of the time, he waited for an answer. Mr. Galbraith said yes. He said, well, how much are you interested in? He said, only 1 or 2 acres. Mr. Galbraith said, I think there's 11 acres or better. He said, all or none. Well, as everybody knows, my grandfather took it all. So, we're the 500 block of Thomas Street. Our property line starts at 5th Street all the way up to what was the yellow pillar where the Vesleys lived at the entrance to the dump.
I wish we had known all that.
Yeah.
You had all
Yeah.
that information. Should have made it a lot easier.
All you had to do was ask. Knock on the door. But
We didn't
initially, all the children had the opportunity to get a piece of ground. On the 5th Street side, my Uncle John, who was the eldest son. Then it was the Allens. My grandfather sold that piece of property to them. My mother wanted that corner piece, which was Thomas Street to 5th. But the borough decided they wanted the street across. They put, by the law of eminent domain, they put the Thomas Street across the front of the property. So my mother ended up with that corner lot, but it is the island. And people walk across it like, oh, I thought that was part of the park. Well, if it was part of the park, I wish the borough would cut the grass. Trust me, and believe that's a project. But I just want to say that growing up in this area, this neighborhood, I'm 67. I have been born, I wasn't born here, but I've been raised here. I bleed Monroeville. I bleed Gateway, and I'm very proud of the neighborhood that we have. We are very fortunate that we have good neighbors, and it's a wonderful environment for children to be safe. It was much nicer when our police officer, Jim, lived across the street, because I could yell across the street, and plus I would be serenaded when his windows were open as he practiced. But we're very fortunate that I come from this area, and I'm raising my daughter, who is back here. I know she's embarrassed. But she's also has lived in the area, and she's familiar with Monroeville, her roots, where she comes from, and very proud of it. And that's what I can say about Mellon Plan. We are proud. We are kind. We are compassionate. Joe, he was always there when we needed, when my grandmother, my uncles, somebody had to go to the hospital. It was always his face that was reassuring and comforting. You know, I'm here. What can I do? So we're thankful. We've got a wonderful, wonderful community and wonderful history to be proud of.
Thank you so much.
As I mentioned before, we all think of Tony LaGorga as a pillar of the community. And he was a very big part of being a council person here, too. And that was something that we really cherished. But just a little FYI, too, we had a local, let's just say star, Kathy Milton, actually lived in our neighborhood, too. She just recently passed, but if you watch Channel 4 News, that's where she lived at, was in Mellon Plan. Little history there for you. I also wanted to give the opportunity to anyone that is here in the audience from Mellon Plan to come up and if they want to share a story, if they would like to...
yeah, talking to the mic, honey.
If they want to share a story, if anyone that's here that is from Mellon Plan, if they want to come forward and share a story, I'd welcome you to.
Well, I used to run your streets when I was young with the Karrases, Donna Karras and her mother, on Thomas Street, right there on Thomas Street. So I spent a lot of years in Mellon Plan when I was growing up. And my parents felt very safe for me being over there. So it was a wonderful environment then, and I think that it still is. But
Yeah, I played over there quite a bit.
Yeah, I think I ran into you when we were kids.
Nothing like
Let's not talk about that one.
Strike that off the record.
Well, I appreciate all the effort that went into making the proclamation.
Absolutely.
And everyone coming, and I
Yes,
appreciate
thank you all for
everyone-
coming.
Everyone in the audience, their patience for today, for us to have a little bit of memory lane for Mellon Plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, council, if we move over to the approval of the minutes of the Citizens Night meeting of April 4th, 2017, the council work session of April 4th, 2017, and the regular council meeting of April 11th, 2017. Are there any additions or corrections? Seeing none, is there a motion on the floor?
Motion. Second.
Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Dr. Griesbach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Moving over to approval of our reports of our tax collections. Once again, council, any additions or corrections? Seeing none, is there a motion on the floor?
Motion.
Second.
Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Dr. Griesbach?
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
And moving over to our payroll report, council, once again, any additions or corrections? And just for everybody here, as well as watching on TV, these items were discussed at our work session, so this is just what we call our regular business meeting, if you will. But again, seeking a motion on the payroll.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Dr. Griesbach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
And our list of bills and budget transfers, Tom, we'll start off with you.
No, sir.
I have no questions.
Very good. Ron?
Nothing.
Nick?
No, Mayor.
And Linda?
Nothing, Mayor.
Motion on the floor.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Dr. Griesbach?
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Okay, council, moving over to the vacancies on our boards, commissions, and authorities. Linda, we'll start off with you this time. Do you have any nominations or appointments?
Well, did we already accept the resignation letter, Tim?
No, for the Finance Authority,
Right.
that's on the agenda.
Okay, so we're not going to do that now? We're going to wait and do that at that time? Okay.
After the acceptance of the resignation.
Okay. Then I want to, I guess, nominate John Shea for a member at large for the library board.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Linda, anybody else?
That's it. Thank you.
Nick?
Nothing this evening,
Ron?
Mayor.
Nothing.
Steve?
I have nothing.
And Tom?
No.
Very good. Moving over to new business, and this is, the applicants here, it's 16-5-ST, Dasa Enterprises. If you would, sir, please. Please state your name for the record.
Ray Gusty from Farragut McCarty Gray. I feel like I'm being thrown to the wolves tonight, but we'll give it a shot there.
I'm sorry, what are you, the engineer?
Landscape architect.
Okay, thank you.
From Farragut McCarty Gray.
Thank you.
Also here tonight is the owner and applicant, Dr. Ballou.
But you're the landscape architect.
Yes.
Thank you.
If I can quickly orient everyone to the drawing here. Old William Penn Highway runs along the top of the sheet. The former Johnny Mac's Pizza is located directly across from our site. The historic stone bridge is located here. This side here is all of Monroeville Plaza. It has the Giant Eagle and Gander Mountain. And then this side here is residential. We're proposing a two-story building. The lower level would be retail, 6,000 square feet, and the upper level would be Baza Hall, the rental hall. We're providing for the retail, 6,000 square feet of retail, which requires 30 spaces, one space per 200 square feet, which meets your ordinance.
I thought it was 7,500 each floor.
There's 1,500 on the lower level. It's for the mechanical room
I know, but
storage.
he said it was 6,000 on the base floor, which would only make 12.
Well, there's 6,000 retail and then 1,500 on the lower level.
That
for
is-
mechanical room and storage.
Gotcha,
That's
so it
the
is 7,500 on the bottom.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So we're required by ordinance one space per 200 square feet. So we have 30 spaces for the retail. And then for the rental hall, it's one space per 3 seats. So that we have 30 spaces, so that's 90 seats for 90 persons by ordinance, which is what's required and what's provided. I also have some elevations of the building. So this is the front elevation, the 4 retail units, and then on the end is the mechanical and storage. And the upper level would be the rental hall. The rear elevation would be the entrance to Vassar Hall, and then the 2 side elevations. As Doreen had mentioned, this is a floor plan of the rental hall. The highlighted area is the seating area. It's approximately 3,200 square feet. The rest of the floor consists of restrooms, the warming kitchen, the manager's office, dressing rooms. There's handicap accessible restrooms as well. As at the Planning Commission meeting, Dr. Ballou had mentioned that he would be willing to sign an agreement with Monroeville limiting the capacity of the rental hall to 90 people, if that's what's required. He would also have to advertise his rental hall as 90-person capacity as well. So it's no different than anyone else that, like Jaden's, for example, they advertise their 2 facilities. So the lower level is, I think, 65, and the upper level is 184 guests, they call them. So he would have to do the same thing. He would have to advertise as well as 90, a 90-person hall.
For the 90 folks that are considered guests, how many parking spaces would that take up?
We're allowed 1 space per 3 seats.
3 seats, so it's 30.
So it's 30 spaces, which is what we provide. 30 times 3 would be 90.
Right.
So we had to work backwards to what the capacity.
And your maximum of parking spaces is?
30.
No, for the entire
There's 65.
property.
65 spaces.
65, so that leaves 25 spaces. Correct?
35.
35.
35,
30.
I'm sorry, yes, correct.
Well, we also need, parking for the storage. There's a mezzanine, we need 2 spaces, and storage, we need 2 spaces. So we actually need 64 spaces total. We're providing 65 total.
So you're telling me how many spaces total?
Pardon?
65.
65 total on the site.
Okay.
What in the building has changed from the occupancy before that you needed 95 parking spaces? The building size has not changed at all, and now you're telling me that you only need 65 spaces?
Well, you're trying to, I guess the main issue was trying to decide. Your ordinance does not have anything about a rental hall. And I think the problem was trying to determine how many spaces you actually needed.
So the building has not changed at all since we required you have 95 parking spaces?
Correct. So the rental hall is actually determined by the size of the retail. So it's 2 levels, so granted,
Right, but I'm saying the building size has not changed since the original submitted plans that asked for 95 parking spaces. But you're saying they're going to limit occupancy just by
Well,
eyeball.
I'm not sure it was 95 spaces. It's not possible to get 95 spaces here.
But the building size has not changed whatsoever to go down to 65 parking spaces.
I've got a question also. You done, Linda?
Yes.
Okay. My question to you is, sir, is that the 6,000 square feet of retail, how many different stores or shops is that? Do you know?
4.
4. Okay. And what type of shops are they? Are they like clothing? Are they... Do you have any idea what type of shops is going to be?
I mean, it's off the main route of 22. We're thinking more like a insurance agency or a real estate agency or a medical office, something like things of that sort.
Okay. And now the hours that they would operate, yeah, any idea? Because I'm thinking if you have the hall going upstairs and you have a lot of people visiting your retail space, you're going to run out of parking places.
Well, the
I mean, at least I think you would anyway.
Well, the retail is during the week, and the hall is most of the time would be rented on the weekends.
You're saying only on the weekends or most of the time on the
I'd say most of the time. I can't say all the time. I would say most of the time.
So there is a possibility 65 spaces is not enough for what you're proposing.
Well, we're allowed for the 6,000 square feet.
I get what you're saying,
Okay,
but
we're
again,
allowed
if you
30
have a lot of
spaces.
customer, I don't know what type of business, that's why I asked what kind of business, and you were kind of vague on that. And again, I'm not trying to give you a bad time, I'm just trying to understand, you know, because Linda brought a good point up. You shrunk the size of the occupancy for the hall, but the building didn't change.
Right.
And you're saying that the 65 spaces will be adequate for both retail as well as the hall, if you will.
Yes.
And I guess my point is, if it's like an insurance agency, I understand. But a doctor's office can get packed. You can have as many people sitting here in a doctor's office. You know, I mean, during flu season and whatever else is going on.
I understand that, but it meets, the retail says 1 space per 200
Yeah, but where
square
are they going
feet.
to park? Are they going to park up in the upper lot, or if that's what it is?
I want to know who determined the 90 person occupancy, that's all.
Your traffic engineer.
I have an additional question, sir. How many employees you need to operate that banquet hall safely?
Any idea?
And please understand, we're just trying to understand the project.
I understand that.
Sir, please state your name for the record and sign in.
Good evening, Council. My name is Ravi Balu. Yes, for the banquet hall, it's going to be around 5 to 7 people. It's going to be mostly, it's going to be more of a hall space. We're not involved in the facility. They're going to rent the hall, and they're going to have 5 to 7 people working at the
So
facility.
you won't be cooking in that?
No, it will not be
You'll-
any
you'll
cooking.
have
It'll
it
be a warming.
catered.
It'd be a warming place on that.
And it'll be catered in?
Yes. And follow up on Mr. Dusty's retail space downstairs of the 6,000. We are thinking of looking at a medical office, which will be mostly during the week. And I have a office in Marysville that I rent also for medical. We're talking to the same group. It's an internal medicine group that's looking at the space for rental. So basically right now they have like from 7 to 3 in the afternoon is what they look at. During the week they're off 1 day a week. And most of the events that we have will be in the evening. So it will be not a conflict Saturday, Sunday, or Friday evening, which the doctors, we have.
How many
banquet-
physicians are in your group?
I'm sorry?
How many physicians are in your group?
No, that's not my group. It's
Or in the
another
group? Or in the group?
I think around four physicians in the group. They plan to take possibly half to 3/4 of that space.
Will they all be working at the same time, or will they be
They
staggered?
rotate because they have a number of offices. So usually in my office that I have now in Murraysville, there are usually about 4 to 6 cars that are in the parking lot at one time, with 1 or 2 for the nurse and the secretary. So at the maximum, there's 1 to 2 doctors at a time. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments, council?
Can those, one more. The tables that are shown, I mean, someone just drew them on there, and they're chairs. Couldn't those tables not accommodate more chairs? And could you not accommodate more tables in that space?
You could, but we're not permitted to.
I know you're not permitted to, I'm just asking, just because it's a visual show that it meets the requirements, is there not enough space to add another table or two, or another chair or two at each of the tables? That's all I'm asking.
Yes.
Just, thank you.
I have a question. I see you're proposing to eliminate the 480-foot required sidewalk.
Well, I was getting to that. That was
I'm sorry.
No, that was okay. It's okay. That was one of the modifications. If you recall from the workshop, the photos showed a steep slope to come down to the shoulder of the road. So it'd be very difficult to grade that sidewalk in.
I mean, there could be a retaining wall placed there, correct?
You could.
Like a 3-foot-high retaining wall?
I think it would be a lot higher than that. But
I don't know why it would be higher, but...
Well, it's a steep... I mean, you'd have to cut into the slope, and as the farther in you go...
The width of the sidewalk.
The farther in you go, the higher
you'd have
the wall has to get.
Difficult, but not impossible.
Correct. But I did drive from Old Haymaker Road all the way down Old William Penn Highway. There was no sidewalk from that distance all the way down on our side. There's no sidewalk at all in that whole...
There's
No, that's all residential.
Right.
But in our commercial lands, you know, I've seen this before where the easiest thing to get away from is putting sidewalks in, and one of the things that we want to abide by is our sidewalks, you know. I mean, there is one currently in front of Giant Eagle that wraps around that property there, and to see it not meet up doesn't make sense.
Well, we're not trying to get around it. I mean, I don't know if you... I know you used to have like a sidewalk fund. I mean, Dr. Ballou is willing to pay whatever that equivalent distance, that cost is, into the fund, and you can build a sidewalk somewhere else in Monroeville that would make more sense.
I just don't see how it doesn't make sense there, but...
Well,
I know.
Yeah, I mean, the culverts down here, you'd have to build a bridge over the culvert to get a sidewalk.
Or you could pipe that portion just to push those...
You'd still have to do something there with...
Yeah. Okay.
Those homes that you were talking about on Old William Penn Highway from Old Haymaker, they were built back in the 50s.
Yeah, that's all residential. They weren't...
So it's all residential. At that time, they weren't required to put in sidewalks. So that's why that's like that.
Mm-hmm.
Any other, Ron, I know you said you had...
If everybody else is done.
Everybody else done?
For now.
Ron, if you would.
On this project, I learned a few things since I've been sitting on council about doing your due diligence from Thursday till tonight. So I did. And I read the minutes of the zoning hearing board. I read the minutes of the planning commission. I drove up and down Old William Penn Highway looking at the parking situation. I actually walked the land and the site where the structure is going to be. I reviewed the drawings with Mr. Hugus. I checked the location of the landmark. I checked the location of the concerned paper street. I talked to the residents, and I reviewed this engineering report from Monroeville traffic engineer, and I'll read this. It says the applicant provided proposed seating layouts as part of a previous submission. They are attached. With the proposed tables eliminated to illustrate the applicant's new proposed seating of 90, the site plan does not include any modifications of the proposed building size from the previous submission. We strongly question the regular maximum seating of only 90, given the size of the proposed building and the seating layout previously provided. We would not recommend approval of the proposed parking calculation without additional justification on how the proposed rental hall usage has changed from the previous submission to reduce the seating from 168 to 90. This is proposed reduction seating of 46% with no change in the building square footage. Secondly, down further where they testify the applicant's response to large vehicles going up in there, turning movements for a 26-foot long fire truck are shown on the attached truck turning movement on plan sheet T1. There are no delivery trucks that will be longer than a fire truck. I don't have a fire truck in my station that's 26 feet long. The shortest one I have is 36 feet long. And so with all that, I think there's enough question that I would like to make a motion to deny the project.
I will second that.
Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Dr. Griesbach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Okay, Tim, if you want, go to motions.
Okay, Mayor, the first motion we have here is a motion to accept the resignation of Beth Belasco from the Monroeville Finance Authority. Her letter is attached to her council.
Is there a motion on the floor?
Yeah, I'm going to make a motion to accept. She is moving out of the area.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry. You have another motion? Go ahead.
Okay, there's
All
an
in
additional...
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like, well, Tim interrupted.
I know.
Okay to go?
Okay to go.
All right, what is not on the agenda is a letter that I gave to council at the stations at the dais. And we've had this in the community before. It's the Special Olympics Torch Run. The Special Olympics Torch Run will be held on May 30th to June 1st for the Pennsylvania law enforcement. The law enforcement torch run campaign to benefit the Special Olympics began in 1981 in Wichita, Kansas, and the largest grassroots fundraising movement for Special Olympics. The start date for the run will be the 30th of May and will begin at PNC Park in Pittsburgh at day one and will end at the Allegheny and Westmoreland County border heading on US 22. And guess where that is? It's in Monroeville. So the torch run is coming through Monroeville. I think this, I don't know what year, I think this is the third year that I'm aware of. But we have to, I think a motion is sufficient to approve, if council could approve, and I could send them a letter that they're okay to do this. And we'll have police and everything. Doug, you're familiar with this. We had this the last 2 years.
Yes. Yes, it's obviously law enforcement torch run is going to eventually end up in Penn State, as they do. They start from the city of Pittsburgh. They do come out 22. We got a leg that Monroeville police officers will be running. It's obviously to try to generate money for the Special Olympics. It's a great cause. We do this. There'll be escorts, plenty of security. They actually move pretty good. They're doing 10-minute miles, so they'll get through town within an hour. That's
good.
I can't do 10 minutes in a car.
So they actually do a little better than 10-minute miles when they got a groups running. So
That's
one group
about
can bring
2
it up.
hours.
In the old days, maybe, but that's not an option
That
for me
ship
now.
sailed with me about it.
Yeah, that's right. I can't even do that in a car.
I can do an 11-minute mile.
So
but
it's
not a
actually
10-minute.
it's a great cause. We've supported it for many years. Heck, it even goes back to 30 years ago. It's been that long. So we've
Has it been that
supported
long?
quite a bit. Well, a lot of times they ran up Route 30, so they didn't come through our town. Now they come through 22. They find it's a better route. And then one of the reasons is the Sheets is one of the major sponsors.
Yes.
And so they like to stop at the Sheets, and actually that's the handoff point is the Sheets at Duff Road.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Questions or comments, council? Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Dr. Griesbach?
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Okay, and we'll do resolutions. Tim, if you'll do our first one.
Okay, a resolution authorizing the refunding of bond series A and B of 2012 and the bond series of 2011.
As I discussed, folks, for you sitting there, we did discuss this at length last Thursday. So is there a motion on the floor?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Questions or comments from council? Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Dr. Griesbach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Tim.
A resolution authorizing the display of various event banner at the corner of intersection of States Route 22 and 48 within a right-of-way of property belonging to the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation.
Motion on the floor.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Questions or comments, council? Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Dr. Griesbach?
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Tim, if you would.
A resolution authorizing the filing of an application for funds with the Redevelopment Authority of Allegheny County to apply for funds from the Active Allegheny Grant Program in the amount of $49,040 for the proposed Monroeville Active Transportation Plan.
Motion on the floor.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Questions or comments, council? Seeing none, roll call, Sharon, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Dr. Griesbach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
And Tim, our last ordinance, or resolution, rather?
Okay, the last resolution is a resolution recognizing the Monroeville Area Chamber of Commerce Foundation as a civic and/or service association under the local options Small Games of Chance as amended.
Motion on the floor.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Questions or comments, council?
Could I just have a little more explanation of what
Yeah, I
that...
don't
Sure.
know, I don't know what this is.
We did discuss this Thursday.
I don't recall it.
Go ahead, Tim, if you would.
Okay, no, what this is not for the Monroeville Area Chamber of Commerce, it's for the Monroeville Area Chamber of Commerce Foundation.
Correct.
They want to conduct bingos to, as fundraisers, and they need to have approval from the local municipality, which is us.
I was
I
hoping for
understand.
slot
Okay.
machines.
And then they get permits
What
through
did
the
she
county.
say?
I said I was hoping for slot machines.
And they get a gaming permit from the county.
County.
That's correct.
Okay, great.
Bingo.
Very good.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a motion and a second. Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Dr. Griesbach?
Aye.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Thank you, Tim. Bob, if you would, their loan ordinance.
An ordinance authorizing the incurring of non-electoral debt by the municipality of Monroeville for the purpose of providing for the cost of various capital projects, refunding of prior bonds of the municipality, and paying the cost of issuing the bonds. This is for the 2012 refinancing that was referenced earlier by Mr. Little.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Questions or comments, council? Roll call, Sharon, please.
Mrs. Gatos?
Aye.
Dr. Griesbach?
Aye.
Mr. Harvey?
Aye.
Mr. Duncan?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Okay, we'll move over to reports of our municipal staff. Bob, any other words of wisdom this evening?
No words of wisdom, Mayor.
Tim, I'll hold you off for a second or two. Paul?
No, sir.
Anything for us?
No, sir.
Josephine, anything for us?
Nothing.
Very good. Tim, you're at bat.
Okay, council has asked me to report on a couple items that are purported items that, the one is our fund balance and how we balance the budget with respect to the fund balance. It's been purported that we balance our budget with a fund balance. That's untrue. We have not done that for the past 3 years. And as a matter of fact, the opposite is quite true. All right. Our fund balance, as I have reported for the last 3 years at the budget hearings, has been growing steadily. Now, the fund balance was small going back 5, 6, 7 years ago, but it has been increasing. Now, you have to understand when a budget is put together what a budget is. A budget is a projection tool. It is a tool to project into the future with revenues and expenses. And in most of the time, you can hit it right on the nail on the head with respect to expenses and revenues of where you're going. If at any time in any business, if you want to know the financial activity and status of any kind of private business, government, your budget isn't the tool to go to. Your audit is. And all this is on our website, and if anybody wants to take a look at it, they're free to. If you look at our CAF, or Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, in the back, I forget what schedule it is, but you will notice that our fund balance for the past 3 years has been growing very steadily. And also, we have a policy where we keep 10% in reserve. All right, so if anybody wants to go on and take a look at our CAFR, our Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, the increase in the fund balance and the different categories of the fund balance. We have, I'm talking about basically the unassigned portion. We have a restricted, a committed, and I'm not going to go into all of those that the Governmental Accounting Standards Board requires us to do. Now, if you look at our budget, is there a budgeted amount for the fund balance for 2014 budget, 2015 budget, and 2016 budget, and 2017 budget? Yes, there is. If you look and read my budget message, it will clearly state that, for instance, for the 2016, I told council in my budget message, I'm happy to report that we will not have to use our fund balance that was budgeted for 2016. And we didn't have to use it. We haven't had to use it for the last 3 years. And there's a reason for that. If you have a little history, we raised taxes in 2014. And the reason we raised taxes is because taxes were not increased for almost 20 years. Monroeville was at 2.2 mills going back into the 90s. And this isn't anything new. For 10 years, this council and the previous 2 councils, going back to 2007, Mr. Cooker is here this evening, and he can attest to this. Everybody knew that the reserves that the municipality had going back 10 years ago, which was between $15 and $20 million, was slowly going down. And that is why taxes were not raised for 20 years. Where did that money come from? The bulk of it came from the selling of the sewage system to the authority. And $12 million, I don't know what the amount was. We built a beautiful community park with that money. But that money also subsidized not having taxes increased. The previous councils, you know, like I said, going back to 2008, they did not want to raise taxes, all right? And that's their privy. But somewhere down the line, taxes had to be raised. And this council, just because of timing, had to make the difficult decision of raising taxes 1.4, I believe, approximately. We're at 4 mills. Now, before we raised taxes, out of 130 municipalities in the county, we were the 8th lowest at 2.2 mills. When we raised taxes, we were tied for the 35th lowest. So out of 130 municipalities, we're still on the low end of municipal. That's key there, municipal taxes. So our taxes are relatively, I wouldn't say on the low side, but we're not even at the midpoint. We're still below that. All right. Now, why do you put a fund balance? Do you budget it? Your question may be. Well, in this year's budget, as I stated in my budget message, I have budgeted to take less money out of the OPEB fund. All right? So we usually take $1 million out of there, and we usually put in $1 million. And from the investments, we gain. So I put only $700,000, which would increase the fund balance just budgeted. Now, as 2017 moves along, it may not work out that way like it has in 15 and 16. We may have unexpected expenses. And last year, and I keep going back to this example, excuse me, Linda, this is in your ward, Ramsey Road. I keep going back to Ramsey Road, and anybody that lives in Ward 1 and travels Ramsey Road, we may have an unexpected expense there. I go to Red Oak Court, and I stated this in my budget message. We don't have anything budgeted for Red Oak Court, but that has stopped eroding away, and Dr. Edelstein from Red Oak Court comes up here on occasion and asks about that. Just today, I got a call from PennDOT. There's a bridge down on Thompson Run Road, which they brought to our attention through a letter last year. We don't know if it's in Penn Hills, Monroeville, or both. We may have to dish out some money for that. Council doesn't even know about that right now. So you always have to plan for unexpected expenses, and you can only plan so much. You can pad a budget and put the money anywhere. It's in the fund balance, and if we don't use it, we don't use it. So we are growing from an operational standpoint in a healthy fashion. We're not using the fund balance to balance our budget. We're not going to be broke in 10 years. Had we not raised taxes, we were heading in that direction. And that's why this council had to raise taxes, which was 64% from where we were to where we are right now. So I just wanted to make that, so the public understands that we're not using the fund balance, and we're going to be bankrupt in about 10 years. Another issue the council wanted me to mention about is the MS4, Municipal Storm Sewer Separate, I always get that wrong, Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System, otherwise known as MS4. Every community in Pennsylvania is going to have to address their stormwater issues. This edict is not coming from Alcosan. Alcosan has nothing to do with this. All right? This is coming from the Department of Environmental Protection, from the federal government under the 1974 Clean Streams Law. They're finally enforcing this, and not just in the city of Pittsburgh. Every community is going to have to address their stormwater problems. All right, so how do you pay for it? We are on the cutting edge of this for one reason only. We're a home rule charter municipality, which we can move ahead and do this. If you're not, Plum Borough has instituted a fee on this. All right? Council has seriously discussed this. They haven't taken any action on it. However, this is not Monroeville that is pushing this. We would address our stormwater issues on a piecemeal basis, but we can't, just like every other community in the Commonwealth is going to have to do within the next 10 years. We have already been audited by the DEP, and the EPA on the federal level is pushing them. So if the EPA comes in here and they audit you, they will fine you. They have fined one community out near Harrisburg $83,000 because they did not abide their audit. They failed, and they didn't submit their reports. The DEP has just come in this past August, and we passed their initial audit. And this is something that's going to be promulgated in the newspapers more and more. So this is not Alcosan. This is not Monroeville. This is the DEP, the state agency, and the EPA is pushing them. So the community has to know what is coming down the pike. This has to be addressed. And we don't have any control over it, or we'll be fined. So those two issues I just wanted to bring up. Council asked me to bring up those two issues, and that's the first part of my report. The second is, as I mentioned on Thursday, there was a young lady and two other gentlemen that received an award, Arbor Day poster contest. Joe, can you put that up there? Okay, and I have to get our names out.
Well, you're going to say them again.
Yeah, I'm going to say them again. And you know, that's funny you mentioned that. Thank you very much. Okay. Oh, she has it on the back here. Dan Baker, that was a difficult one. Salma Mukatar. Okay, she is the lady, the young lady in the, she received an Arbor Day Foundation Award, and I'll read it right from our Park and Recreation Director. The Recreation and Parks Department held an Arbor Day poster contest from the beginning of the new year through April 10th. It was open to the students grades 3 through 5. We received a number of entries and a grand prize winner and 2 honorable mention winners. They are, I'm not going to repeat her name again. Dan Baker came fourth honorable mention, and she received a flowering tree and also a soft-sided lunch bag from the Arbor Foundation. Mr. Baker, he received a lunch bag from the Arbor Foundation. Also, the 5th grade honorable mention was Ishan Sina. Okay, I think I got that right. He received a
better than I would.
He received a soft-sided lunch bag from the Arbor Foundation. So congratulations to those 3 students. Also, we've also had bring to everybody's attention about taking your garbage out. We get phone calls like this every so often, and usually it's when the weather gets warmer. With respect to taking under the ordinance, you can only take your garbage out after 4 p.m. the day before, obviously, that your garbage is being picked up. So there's starting to be a rash of people putting their garbage out a day ahead of time, and so I just thought I'd mention that. Also, the Historical Society, they are looking for gardening volunteers. They mentioned this last year. This is to work down at the Macaulay and the McGinley House. So if you have any, please call, that's on here. I'll tell you what, if you want to volunteer, call me. My number is on the website. One last thing that's not on there is we received notification from Polino Construction that they will be beginning paving through PennDOT of Mosside Boulevard, Northern Pike, and Haymaker Road. Okay, and when this will begin, I do not know, but construction will consist of doing a base repair to both roadway and shoulders, minor drainage improvements, and then milling and paving of the roadway and shoulders. Along with this work, there will be a new line painting, guide rail improvements, and other miscellaneous upgrades to the roadway. Now, on Moss Side, Northern Pike, and Haymaker, the traffic control restricts us from performing work between the hours of 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. Sunday through Saturday. Mainline milling and paving work will begin Monday through Friday at night from 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. So, Council, if you remember the county, we did this for Stroshine last year, and we passed a resolution to this effect, so this will be on the agenda coming up in June, so that they can work in the evening.
Mr. Little, can I interject here for 1 second? One of the questions I was going to ask with Mr. Yugas tonight, because I had a call from Mr. Turisky last month or the month before in regard to the line painting and the confusion in those areas. Is this what we were talking about what's going to be done? And if it is, since I've had more calls, could you please explain to the residents what's going to happen?
Sure. Well, the intersection you were referring to is at the high school, which is a confusing intersection.
Yes.
So when the state does their milling and paving, they will have to replace all the line markings within the intersection. Those line paintings that aren't replaced, then our Public Works Department will do the remaining approaches to that intersection.
And this is the work that Mr. Little is now talking about, so this will be getting done, so then the lines will be painted and make it clear so everyone understands the directional
Correct.
issues. Thank you very much.
Anything else then? I'm done. Well, talking about roads, and I'll turn it over for public comment in a minute. I was talking with Representative Joe Markozik, and we're both approaching, and I already have done that, but I'm having Joe ask for his help to get Monroeville Boulevard paved. As you all know, it's horrible out there. It is a county road. It is not our road. So just so you know, we are trying, and hopefully it'll get done this year. He gave me his word it would be done this year, so we're going to hold his feet to the fire on that. But thought you all would want to know that, because that is a horrible road out there. And with that, I'll open up the public comments on any agenda item. And please,
no, of any item.
We're going to go off the list again?
Any item. I'm sorry, any item. I apologize. But adhere to the 5-minute rule, if you will. So anybody would like to address?
Do you want to go back off the list?
The list, Mayor.
Yeah, go back off the list again. Start with that.
All righty. Mark Risco?
Ooh, Len, you look so professional.
Yeah, well, all spiffied up here, bud.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that.
I'll bet I know why you're here.
Really? We'll start with this one here.
Please sign in, gentlemen, and state your name for the record.
I'm already in.
Yeah, you are, but I didn't see.
Yeah, I'm on there too. Yeah, Len Young from Monroeville. Wearer of many hats. Tonight my hat is the American Legion, local Gold Star Post 820. As a member of the Honor Guard, American Legion Honor Guard, want to bring attention to the community about a special Memorial Day service. There you go. It's going to be on Sunday of Memorial Day weekend. Now, of course, everybody's got their picnics all planned out for Monday, Memorial Day. What are you going to do on Sunday? You're going to come to the Westland Memorial Cemetery. And at 11 a.m., we have a real big program lined up. And as you can see on the flyer, we have a keynote address by our esteemed mayor himself. We have a POW MIA remembrance ceremony, military and first responder recognition, songs of tribute by Officer James S. Markle. There'll be a dove release, light refreshments will be served. We have Ray Reinhardt displays his POW MIA Soapbox Derby car in honor of those who served. And there will be like I say, a special presentation by the American Legion Color Guard and the Honor Guard. We'll also be doing our thing there. No, I'm just here for moral support. There you go. I got here first, so that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, I can attest to that they do a very nice program there. I was there the last couple of years, and I'll be again this year. And if you do take time, please honor our fallen heroes. That's the appropriate thing to do, in my opinion, anyway, and hopefully yours as well. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, it'll be Sunday.
Anything else?
Sunday.
Well, if you can't make that one because you might have something to do, following that directly afterwards, at 2 p.m., we're doing a very similar ceremony at the Homewood Cemetery.
Which is not in Homewood.
Not in Homewood. No. It's the Homewood Cemetery. But it is the largest cemetery. I forget how many.
Right on Forbes Avenue.
Yes.
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 Oh,
It's Forbes Avenue.
Okay.
Very historical.
Yes, it's the largest cemetery. Has, I don't even know how many military graves there. And then you have, so if you can't make the one at 11 o'clock.
This one's at 2 p.m.
This one's at 2 o'clock.
And the American Legion Color Guard and Honor Guard will both be at both ceremonies.
Well, I assure you I'll be at the 11.
Great. Okay. One other side note I wanted to add. Governor of Pennsylvania, Tom Wolf, has proclaimed the month of May traditionally as the Motorcycle Safety and Awareness Month. A couple of years ago, Council was very nice to
I thought
proclaim.
you were going to be...
Yeah, Monroeville had a little proclamation there too. And in honor of that, so everybody knows I got the yellow and black signs out there. Watch for motorcycles. I'll try to get some more out there. They are free for the taking. We certainly invite you to put them up in your yard, and please watch out for motorcycles. We appreciate that.
Thank you so
That's
much.
it.
Have a great day, guys. Thank you.
Okay, sure. No. Thank you.
Betsy Desmond, you are up.
It's been a while. It's been a while since I've been up here. I'm Betsy Desmond. I live in Monroeville. I have many hats in my neighborhood. One thing, I'm not liking what I hear going on with these elections. There was a Facebook thing on Mr. Tim's Facebook calling this council the good old boys. No. This council has never been the good old boys. Mr. Tim must forget what the council was before this council came up. We have done nothing but move forward. I get nothing but, yeah, Monroeville has problems, but I go to other towns and the houses in Garden City are selling for over $130,000 and up.
Mr. Tim.
Tim Shooks, he's running for 7th Ward.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, you know.
Scoots.
Scoots. Anonymously, and I don't know where this came from, I was not at work. Anonymously, this letter was dropped off to my work for my name. My employee didn't know who dropped, the person that dropped it off. But apparently, Tim got in trouble in 2011, taking signs.
Mayor, is this the form for this?
Yeah.
Steve, I can't stop her First Amendment rights.
But I meant just, I understand that, but I mean, is we going to make this a political forum?
No, but I can't tell her to not.
I'm not telling her not to. I'm
Well-
just asking you a question as mayor.
Okay, as mayor, she has a right to say what she
Very
needs
good.
to say.
That's all I ask.
Mr. Ratcher, am I off base?
No, you and council have the right to set the parameters, whether or not somebody can speak what those parameters are.
Well, we've never had parameters in my 10 years.
Are you kidding me?
It is up to you to set your own parameters as long as you're comfortable with the ones you have.
I'm asking this, there's a reason I'm asking this question.
Well, I did check this out. Okay? I have proof, I'll leave it.
But my thing is accusations, you know, as far as, I have no clue what you're about to say, but my whole thing was about
I have
accusations.
to.
Somebody could come up here and say just about
Right, no.
anything. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I'm
I
not
wouldn't do it,
against what
Steve,
you're
if I
saying.
didn't.
I asked the mayor a question.
Okay? I wouldn't do it if
Steve,
I
I
did
wasn't
it.
trying to be smart with my answer.
That's fine. That's fine. Very good.
Anyways, this complaint, police report, says that he was identified taking signs, political signs, and putting them in the back of a pickup truck. I'm not making this up. This came to me. I don't know this man. Okay, he supposedly lived here for 25 years and he's going to make my town better. I don't know this man. But what I do know is he did this, and he was in his FBI vehicle. Now, I just want to know, did he put that on his application for council that he has this? I will hand this to you so that if anybody thinks I'm lying, I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but I do want to protect my neighborhood, okay? So that's what I want. And Tom's doing a very nice job, all of you are. I don't like the bad mouth thing that's going on in Monroeville, the sign be putting in places they're not allowed to be put in.
That shouldn't be happening.
Well,
We
it
have
did-
an ordinance.
It just happened at my work.
I know. It shouldn't be happening.
And I tried to call Stephanie. I couldn't get her on the phone. I talked to Jan Roslin, because my boss did not want the sign. I asked her, what can I do? She said, take it down and throw it away. I don't like all these signs being put where they're not supposed
This
to.
is unprecedented.
Yes,
The
it
ordinance
is.
was put in
Yes, it is.
to
But
control that.
that's all I have to say, and if anybody wants to ask me any questions, I'm here. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bill Kornrup. Bill, good to see you, bud.
Good to see you, and I'm feeling great, and to the people of Glenwood, congratulations. Once it's built, the headache that will come afterwards, okay? I am the owner of Still City Steakhouse.
Yes, you are.
Okay, I had a swimming party down there at the intersection of 48 and 130 that most of you knew 3 years ago when I addressed all these problems. For 5 days, I had water laying in that intersection. Laying. Okay? PennDOT blames Monroeville, and PennDOT has showed me the problems, the stuff that was sucked out of them sewer drains. Okay? The speedway that was built was supposed to be built at ground level. They raised it 15 feet. There's 6 drainage that is running down on the 130. Okay? And I told this council 3 years ago that I was going to end up dealing with it. Okay? Where is the help? Where is the help? 12 o'clock at night, I still had water running down into that intersection. Now, when the vote was tallied, there was one person on this council that voted against it. The intersection needs corrected. It should have been corrected before any more development was down there, and that's what I asked for. Okay? Paul, I called you, I called Mike Adams, okay? Last year, PennDOT and you had a meeting together, which I was supposed to be a part of. Okay? Let's get together. Let's get this intersection corrected. Okay? 2 days, traffic was backed up 48 all the way past Gateway High School. And all this does is it hurts me. It hurts me. Okay? And I have an investment in that corner. And like I said, it's getting to push comes to shove. I got a hillside coming down. I mean, really, the drainage, you know, everything that was done down there was done inadequate, and now I'm paying the price. Okay? Please. It needs corrected. Any comments from
Tim, I'd like to hear your comments about the meeting. How did that go?
I can't remember the meeting specifically.
Well, I talked to the gentleman from PennDOT a year ago.
His name?
I have it written down, okay? But, you know, once again, it's always been Monroeville, PennDOT, Monroe. The dirt that's coming out of them sewage drains is running down off the hill. That's not PennDOT's problem.
Bill, you know, I mean, this doesn't give you any solace right now, but, yeah, it is a PennDOT road. And then PennDOT...
Correct.
Okay, and PennDOT says, well, yeah, there is water runoff coming from other areas that is not a PennDOT road.
Correct.
You know, as I was speaking before about the MS4 project and program, these are typical examples of what the DEP and the EPA, and I know, like I said, this doesn't give you any solace, that they want corrected, not just in this area, not just in western Pennsylvania, but the whole country. The EPA, because there's problems like this that have gone on too long because of shoddy development, stormwater management, in relatively speaking, has only come into vogue in the 70s, and so there's a lot of development that wasn't put in right pre-70s when you didn't have stormwater management ordinances. And I know that, like I said, I'll repeat it a third time, that's not helping you right now.
No, it's not.
But, you know...
But what I said 3 years ago when I addressed you, okay, the problem was going to get worse. It wasn't going to get better. But Yunes assured me that it was going to get, I wasn't going to have problems, okay? And really, this is the worst that it's ever been. 5 days of water laying in that intersection. Did any of you come down to look at it? I know Mike Adams, was it a joke?
It was bad.
It was bad, okay? But like I said, I'm dealing with all these problems now after the fact. That speedway wasn't supposed to be built up anymore. It went up 10, 15 feet, okay? The drainage on 130. I mean, yeah, like I said, 12 o'clock at night. It was still like a river coming down into that intersection.
Well, let me interrupt you, Bill.
Okay.
And again, maybe, you know, Tim, we need to talk to PennDOT, and if it is... Paul, can you help us maybe a little bit on this as well?
Can you call me tomorrow, Bill, and let me know who you spoke with at PennDOT, because I would like to hear them.
Yes, okay?
Thank you.
And like I said, Mike Adams, what he said is the drain under the bridge, okay, that when the creek rises too high, it can't take the water. Well, 3 days later, 2 days later, that creek wasn't high, and there was no water coming out of that pipe because the sewers were all backed up with
Debris,
mud, and everything else. And I personally saw it, and I recorded what was coming out of that.
Paul, is there extra coming from the new speedway or not?
Well, that's what I want to find out what's going on. I mean,
Yeah.
as far as I know, the stormwater management was installed as per the design.
Okay, so
No,
let's
that's what I wanna hear
start
from
with
him.
that as well.
If
Okay.
PennDOT is saying that it is not working, I want to know.
Yeah.
That's why I want to know who's there from PennDOT.
Okay.
And Mr. Hughes, the storm drains
Did I test?
they're talking about, are they our responsibility or PennDOT's?
PennDOT's.
Okay.
Oh, so we need to talk to Mark Hosig then.
Yeah, but it's PennDOT's storm door, but PennDOT's saying it's Monroeville's dirt.
Oh, no, I got your point,
Okay.
Bill, I got your
But
point.
they still need to be cleaned out no matter.
That's
no matter
irregardless.
who-
Yeah, that
their
is irregardless,
responsibility.
and
We
we
gotta
got to
figure
make
that
sure
out.
that Speedway is correct, and so you've given us information, so we can get started. But please call Mr. Yugas tomorrow, give him the name.
Go back and check the tapes from 3 years ago with the Speedway, and one of the questions that I brought up was it going to be raised? No, we're going to build it at, okay? And it's, believe me, they raised it, which was doing nothing but, I knew I was going to have water runoff.
Well, let's start with your phone call tomorrow to Mr. Yugas, so he can start to investigate, and we
Okay.
can start to try and make some
And
headway.
you know what, Bill,
Make some
you and
sense.
if you,
Greg, we've known each other a long time.
why don't you and I go see Mark Hosig and, put some heat under PennDOT?
I would love it.
Well, let's get our info in place
well,
first,
still-
and then, yes, do that,
They can
please.
still clean the damn drains.
I know you voted for the stopping of it.
Yeah.
That intersection.
I know.
Believe me.
Call my cell phone.
Okay?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you all for coming.
And I don't want to miss a crab night, believe me.
Like
Your
I said,
crab legs are
and it does.
fantastic.
When
Yes.
people can't get to my business,
Yeah.
it hurts.
It hurts you.
No,
It
amen.
hurts me.
Amen.
He has the best wings in the world. They're like this big.
Okay, now I'll reopen the floor again for any, I'd like to address council. This is certainly your time to do so. Please sign in, sir. State your name for the record.
I'm Lou Smith. The people that don't know me, I've been a resident of Monroeville approximately 49 years. I spent 30 years on the Monroeville Police Department, retiring 20 years ago, and retired at the rank of Detective Lieutenant. I was here last week, and I ask everybody to please vote for Jeff Herbst for judge and also Jesse Kalkstein for school board. And I would ask, I want to reiterate that this time. Now, I never thought I was going to have to come up here again. I was up here religiously over 4 years ago when we had the worst council that probably ever existed. And I watched those people, along with 5 members of the municipal staff, do a conspiracy on Chief Doug Cole, where they went after him personally, went after his job, and went after his family. Now, everybody in town probably knows Chief Doug Cole. He's one of the finest human beings that I've had the pleasure to meet in my lifetime. And he was one hell of a cop, because he worked for me, and I demanded that. Now, Doug, he's had 40 years with the fire service in this community, 40 years as a command medic, and 33 years as a police officer. That's approximately 110 years of municipal service in a 55-year-old body. That is commendable. And what they did to him, and I watched this all happen, and that's why I was up here. Now, what I'm going to talk about tonight is, my theme here tonight is this. If it is not broke, don't fix it. This woman here, Linda Gatos, is not broke. She doesn't need fixed. Nick Resock is not broke. he doesn't need fixed, as does Ron Harvey and Tom Wilson and Mayor Arisenko, who's running for council in the 5th Ward. They do not need fixed. They're doing a hell of a job up here. Now, I got to reminisce a little bit here because this election is about a couple people. One of them being Bruce Dice, who used to sit in that chair right there. And he has a lot to do with what's going on in this election. Because the
Mayor, I'm
councilman...
going to ask again, is this the proper forum for this?
I would ask you, please don't interrupt me,
I'm
Steve.
asking the mayor as a
He already
council
said.
representative. No, if this is proper, I'm asking his opinion. If you're speaking now is proper.
Again, I don't
On this
know
subject,
how I
and to be
handle...
making accusations and assumptions. I'm just asking.
I know he's your buddy, but I'm going to talk about it.
Irregardless of who my buddy is, here you go with another accusation. I'd like a solicitor's answer to this.
You know, ladies and gentlemen, you know, I've been sitting here over 9 years and some months. And if you all remember, I have never stopped anybody from having anything they need to say up here. I'm old school maybe, but I still believe in the Constitution. You have a right to voice your opinion, even if you don't agree with
Well, that's very good, but
or
have you
anybody
read
else's.
Robert's Rules of Order?
Okay, when have we ever done Robert's Rules of Order since I've sat here?
Then why do they have it? I don't know. Okay, I'm through with that. I wanted to make my point.
You made
that
your point,
We should
sir.
allow
I'm
every
not-
candidate, everybody to come up and speak.
I have not stopped
Irregardless.
anybody from
Okay.
coming up here to talk.
Very good. That's all I have to say.
Well, that's fine, Steve, but again, put yourself in my shoes. How do I stop the man or anybody sitting in this office
I'm not
have a
saying
right
to
to come
stop
up
him.
and say,
I'm saying that there should be order of some sort, not accusations.
you're
or
the one
some-
causing the disorder. He's speaking,
causing the
we're
disorder?
listening. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Continue.
Well, I don't know how the residents will feel about that.
Well, then they'll make their decision on Election Day, won't they?
This has nothing to do with election.
Well, then what is it then?
Order and
Then-
accusations and assumptions. That's what it is, Mayor.
I can't stop anybody from
Very
giving
good.
their
Proceed,
opinion.
Mr. Smith.
Anyway, to continue, the main complaint on Chief Doug Cole was a HIPAA violation. That's how it all started, by ex-Chief Steve Pascarella. Everybody that was involved in the fire service, I knew, Harvey knew, Chief Cole knew, Kim Hauser knew. He's an attorney that knows all about HIPAA. And Bruce Dice sat right in that chair and said, this is not a HIPAA violation. A few days later, he recommended we hire an outside law firm to check it out, and a private detective and a forensic computer specialist, to the tune of $160,000 in attorney fees, $20,000 for the private detectives. They got the private detective out of Butler County when they got about 200 of them here in Allegheny County. Once I read the report after it was made public, I told the man that he couldn't find a basketball in a telephone booth. I know how to investigate. Now, Mr. Dice gave some bad advice. This is why he was let go. He didn't show up for a court case downtown. The man's been on 4 boards here for years. He's on the zoning board right now. He's on the Municipal Water Authority board. He's on the Convention Bureau board. And he's on the Monroeville School Board. Now he wants this job back.
Luke, let me just ask you this. Can you just get to your point?
All right, well, I'm just saying, this is what a lot of this election is about. Because we have a councilman up here Mr. Johns, who's not here tonight, that his sole purpose, the rest of the time he's on council here, is to unseat these council people up here and to put Mr. Dice back in office. That's what he wants to do.
I cannot believe these comments.
And I'm not about to let that happen. First of all, he was let go. Bob Ratcher was put in the job. The man was charging us $230,000 a year retainer. He wanted a $30,000 a year raise. Bob Ratcher's here at $180,000. He's saving us money. And plus, he's a very good attorney. I mean, everybody's satisfied with the guy. Now, Johns has been talking to people, Councilman Johns, trying to get them to run against certain incumbents. And he's saying, we will back you, and we want 3 things off of you. 1, you must put Bruce Dice back in as solicitor. Number 2, you got to fire Tim Little. And number 3, I can't tell you what that one is. But when I ask you later on down the line, I want you to do it. We'll get back to that in a minute.
Mayor,
Luke, you
I'm
got to really
sorry.
watch your time. I mean,
I'm sorry, this is
All right, well, the
ridiculous.
last guy was up here, talked about 8, almost 9 minutes, so, you know, give me a
Kind of
break.
wrap it up, Lou.
All right.
Please.
Anyway, getting to the mayor's race. I can't say too much about the other people. All I know is to, you know, expedite this thing is we've always had excellent mayors in this community. Excellent mayors. From John Duncan to Drosky to Mike Lynch to Tom Sugar to Sean Logan, who went on to be a state senator, to Jim LeMayo, and now our current mayor here now. Always been excellent, and he's a real hard-working mayor, by the way. And I'd like to see them continue this excellence in putting this man, Nick Resock, in as mayor. He's the deputy mayor now. He's been on council 6 years. He's not broke. Let's don't fix him. Now,
Wrap it up soon, Lou. Sorry.
we have different people running for council. I'm only going to comment on one of them, and listen up, 7th Ward is all I can tell you. Because I got information within the last week from a very reliable source that said it was overheard by Tim Skoog talking with Brian Keyes, and I don't even know the man. All I know is he's head of the security force at the high school. When I get into council, we're going to remove Doug Cole as chief, and you're going in. And when I'm done with council, I want an administrative position in the police department. Now, that was told to me personally.
Please wrap it up, Lou.
I will say this. Last council meeting, Bob Serafini said it best. The incumbents up here, he wished he could vote for all of them. And you know what? I wish I could vote for all of them too. We must keep the incumbents, councilmen, on this job. Let's keep America, keep Monroeville from going back into what we had before. We need our police chief, Doug Cole.
Absolutely.
Okay. Anybody?
I'll try to not treat it like a circus here. My name is Chad Zoombort. I am a citizen of Monroeville. So, a few things I'd like to touch on. I'll start with what Mr. Little had addressed as far as the budget, how much money is available, amounts that were budgeted and may not have been used. You had said right in the last 3 years we had never used the general fund balance to balance the budget. We did, though, go from 1.8 millage up to 4. So that is where the math comes from, not the 2.2 after the assessment.
We
It
went
was
from 2.4 to 4.
after the assessment, were we at 1.8?
No, we were 2.2.
2.2 is
After the
correct.
assessment.
No, before the assessment.
Okay, so after the assessment, we were at 1.8. And then we had to go to court and raise it.
Oh, then go to court, yes.
Yes, okay, very good. So we're at 1.8. Just want to make sure the correct facts are out there for the public. We budgeted for $700,000 utilization last year. We're budgeting for $500,000 this year. We have $4.5 million roughly available in our cash, right, cash on hand.
No, we have more than that.
4.8.
No, because we have a 10% reserve. Look at the fund balance analysis in the
But
budget.
just reading through your budget report, people are asking, well, where are people saying, hey, the council may have to raise taxes? I believe it's on page 13 of your address. You say that the council should strongly consider a 1 mil increase.
Unquestionably.
Okay.
I support
Greg,
that.
you said 2 years ago, basically, that the sky was falling. We need to find ways to reduce spending. Our spending is out of control. So this isn't a new problem. This isn't something that people are just bringing out of nowhere. Our spending is out of control, and we do need to start to rein that in. We do need to look at how can we reduce spending by a mere 1.6%, which then you don't have to put a $500,000 general fund utilization into your budget. The MS4, I'll talk a little bit about that as well. You said that this is a federal mandate. It's a federal mandate as to what we have to do with the sewers, correct? It's not a federal mandate that you must enact a fee.
You're correct.
Okay. We've said Mount Lebanon, that's been used multiple times up here, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Mount Lebanon started their program in 2011. So if we're going to use Mount Lebanon as an example, I want to ask, where were we for the past 6 years? How is Mount Lebanon 6 years ahead of us?
Asked the council before.
Well, if I can answer your question on
Here's
that.
manager.
Go ahead, Ron.
You're a manager, you can answer.
Well, sure. Mount Lebanon is way ahead of the curve on the MS4 project, unquestionably.
Okay. All right,
So is
that's
Maidville.
all I wanted to know.
Okay.
I'll kind of just address Lou's comments. And first of all, Steve, thank you, as my council person, for speaking up and trying to keep order in these council chambers. There do need to be rules set forth. You can't allow people to come up here and just throw things out. The accusations...
I politely disagree on the First Amendment. sorry.
That's fine. There's freedom of speech, and then there's baseless accusations. That makes Monroeville look poor. When we say if it's not broke...
I think you did pretty good job last night. I'll address that in my report.
I'm sure you will. If it's not broke, don't fix it. I kind of like that. So we'll look at crime statistics from 2014 compared to this past year. Assaults increased 45%, drug activity up 50%, gunshots up 43%, gunshot wounds up 150%, overdoses up 321%, prostitution up 118%, stabbings up 900%.
Excuse me, let me ask you a question. How many stabbings were there?
10.
Oh,
Okay, wait a minute. One other question. What would you do about it?
Is this my time to talk?
I'm just asking you a question.
why don't you just use
Yeah,
the
I mean,
numbers rather
you're
than
going to throw out
percentages?
these numbers, let's get some backup on
Okay,
it.
very good.
Because, the public can go to the Pennsylvania State website, and they can pick up our crimes report. That's reported every month.
We're good.
And crime is down, believe it or not, in Monroeville, and we'll address that.
Very
I want to
good.
know what you would do about it.
Very good, and I will get to that. Thank you. So in those 7 categories, and those numbers did come off of the municipal's website, reported by the Monroeville Police Department. 15 gunshot wounds, 80 overdoses, 10 stabbings in the past year. It's a 75% increase since 2014. So there are problems, and they do need fixed. You had asked, what would I do about it? I'm not sure if you had stayed for the whole presentation at Meet the Candidates night, but we need to look at addressing it. We need to, obviously the status quo is not working, correct? Have we changed anything? We implemented...
We've changed a lot.
You're right. We implemented a camera system, which the district attorney has been pushing for, which our own chief of police has said probably isn't a good idea. And then on KDK, he said, okay, I was wrong. It was a good idea. So we do need to get back to proactive policing. I'm not going to sit up here and make baseless allegations. I'm going to say that these are the facts. They need addressed.
Just want to know how you would address them.
And I just said the status quo is not working. I'm not a police officer. You were a police officer. I would hope that you guys have some
That's why I
solutions.
was curious
Can I
about
comment?
how you would fix it.
Absolutely, Steve.
I think that would be good conversation for Meet the Candidates night.
Correct.
I'm just asking.
So, no. I mean, All this,
Overall, no, I
all
agree.
these political conversations.
I would
Right.
completely agree.
Meet the candidate night. You guys go hash it out.
Very good. And I will end with this. When people vote, I just urge everyone not to listen to the rumors, the accusations. Look at our record. It's all available on Gateway's website. It's available on the municipal website. Look at the minutes. Look at who's voted for a tax increase. Look at who's found loopholes in procedural law. Look at who's wasted money frivolously versus who has cut down on budgets, balanced budgets. So
Now, those are accusations.
those are not.
Steve, you're not yelling at him for those.
I'm yelling at it. I'm not
Okay,
yelling.
I'm just saying.
I've heard my point.
Okay, I'm
You're
just
mayor
saying,
to
that
keep
he
control of
is
this.
Those are
now
from your
making
website, Ron.
baseless accusations
They're wrong.
as well.
Your website's wrong?
Here we go. This is what's going to
I
ensue.
know, but he's doing it and you didn't say anything.
Okay.
I'm sorry I missed that one.
Okay,
Okay, knock it off.
thank you.
Very good.
Go ahead.
Jeez.
So I just want to address, if you think that the crime stats are wrong, then please address them on your website because that's where the numbers are from. Thank you.
Hi, Nance, please sign in, state your name for
I
the
will
record.
do that. Nancy Lapsovich, Monroeville. Mhm. And since Mr. Smith opened it, I am running for Ward 1 Councilwoman. I'm more than appalled. Mr. Duncan, thank you.
I don't know that I need to be thanked. I just
Well,
wanted some
yeah,
order.
you do. It should be up to the mayor and the attorney to stop the rantings and the ravings. I don't see him ever running for anything, but he makes accusations. When he makes them and says candidates, that's me. I'm one of those candidates. Nobody said they needed fixed. That's not why I'm running. Everything can be improved. I'm sitting with 5 school board members who improved the school district after the other ones were doing just fine. And I can say that because I'm a nebby-ass wife and I read the emails and I read the phone messages. For one thing. This has gone a little too far. I really think so. I really think it has. No one's addressing the issues. We had a citizens' night last night. Handful of people showed up. We were there. My phone didn't work. I lost my speech. But this one, I can't sit there and listen to this Mr. Smith raving. Raving. Sure, freedom of speech. He's disruptive. He started it last week by standing here talking about the candidates, didn't name names, thank God for him. But he stood here and said, everybody better watch next week because I'm going to tell everything. Well, go ahead. Did you? Because
Yeah, okay,
everything...
but Nance, you're just saying,
Yeah.
you're accusing him of the same thing you're just doing.
But everything I heard him say, he said, I heard, brought to my attention. What I'm telling you is from me, is what I know.
No, I know, but continue. Continue. I don't want to interrupt your speech.
It's not a speech. My phone's not working, so there's no speech. Just like last night. It's just that I'm sitting there and I'm hearing, you're chastising Chad. It was just in the newspaper. Crime is up 75% in the east suburbs. Guess who was mentioned? Monroeville. I give to Doug Cullen, the police force, the firefighters, and the medics more than a pat on the back. They are second to none.
We agree.
They are second to none. We live in this town with their stellar school system. We have everything here. That's why I moved into it 30 years ago. That's why I'm still here. It's not, as Mr. Smith said, that I think, they should not be changed. And that's not
the reason for elections. It's not the reason for freedom of speech. It's our right and duty. If there's any one of us that thinks that we can do something better or have something to bring to the table, I say bring it on. Thank you.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I'll leave the floor open. Come on down, Jay.
Actually, Greg, I'm a simple solution.
Please sign in, state your name for the record.
My name is Jay Wright. I live in Monroeville. And if I understood Mr. Reicher correct, you guys can pass a resolution stating there should not be politics up here. And I agree with it. This is not the place for politics. This is a place for our service to the community, not to be political. Pro or con, I have nothing against Mr. Smith, nothing against Nancy, anybody in here, but it's not a place for politics. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I'll leave the floor open for any comment. David, you coming up?
David Cooker, and I'm a resident of Monroeville.
I bet you are.
Yes. And I'm a former councilman. I served for 10 years. I've been hearing a lot of things up here at the microphone, up on the dais, and from people coming up to the podium and speak, and I have to set a few things straight here. And I've been jotting, excuse me, I've been jotting down notes, so I'm running off of memory here. This is all documented, so I'm going to start with the NPDES for the MS4 permit, I believe it's called. The NPDES means National Pollution Discharge Elimination System for municipal separate storm source systems. We started addressing this situation in 2003. I can still remember the memo we received from the F&F consultants about charging a fee, and I believe there was one in Apollo. I believe it was Apollo, Lower Borough, somewhere around there.
Mayville.
Well, no, this was a separate thing.
Okay.
That they had, and this was obviously brought to our attention because we knew we had to abide by these laws coming forward. We had just addressed the sanitary sewer system. We realized we couldn't do this. We changed it. We changed the municipal authority, the water authority to municipal authority, and we had them address it. Jamie Story put together a real nice map. When we started getting into this, he put a real nice map together of the storm source system, put GPS markers. We started monitoring the water quality, and we even started adopting ordinances to address this situation. And the staff was doing a pretty damn good job as far as I was concerned, because I saw their work, and it was very good quality work.
Still is, Dave.
Well, I have no doubts it is. Another thing we have up here is unfunded, fund balances. There was an issue here discussed about fund balances. Why do we even have a fund balance? Now, under this young lady here, Josephine,
Yes.
that was the one thing I really enjoyed doing on council, finance. Why do we have a fund balance? We have a fund balance to address any emergencies that come up in the event that we lose our revenue. We have to have, and that's why council initially saved we reserved a 15% revenue in the fund balances. Now, why did we do that? Because we realized we had some huge unfunded liabilities. We also realized that, you know what, we have the fund balances to do this, the unrestricted, so we sold the sewers, as everyone knows, for about $14 million, I believe it was, but then we gave to make a long story short, it was about $13.5 million that we set aside to build a community park. There was a $5 million lawsuit from Westinghouse. We set that was part of the that was part of the fund balance as well. Now, what did we do in 2003, which is the exact same time we started addressing the storm sewer systems? We set up $5 million, actually it was 6.6, I think it was about $6 million. We set $6 million aside to address an unfunded liability. At that time was $29 million. That was just OPEB. These are huge issues. Now, we were told in 2008 by the solicitor, Randy Rhodes, who was our attorney on that particular project, our auditor, and our, there was another one, I think it was the investment manager. I think that's what it was. Again, I'm going back to 2008. We were told that if council had not done anything, our unfunded liability would have been at $40 million. What did council do to stop that from happening? Obviously, we set the funds aside to address the OPEB fund, which is a annual required contribution of $2.2 million. If you don't put that annual required contribution in, you will see that show up on your balance sheet. And I can't remember, it's somewhere around $8-9 million, I think, it's on our balance sheet now as a debt, a long-term debt. We're going to have to address this sooner or later. So everyone realizes, oh, we have this money in our fund balance. That doesn't mean doodly squat. When you have approximately, I think it's close to, and I wish I had this in front of me. I'll just be on the conservative side and say $15 million for pension unfunded liabilities. Plus you have another, what is it, $29 million? Is it back up to $29 million or $30 million for OPEB?
It's about 28.
Okay, that's big. That's a lot of money. That's a big problem. Just so you know, the Act 47 team for the City of Pittsburgh has mandated that the City of Pittsburgh Council contribute $2.2 million into their OPEB. They have to create a trust fund, and they have to fund it so that they have money set aside. And it's in the city, several years ago I read that, it was in the City of Pittsburgh's Comprehensive Annual Financial Report.
If I could interject there on that, Dave, most municipalities, we're one of the few, maybe 2 or 3 in the Pittsburgh area that has an OPEB fund.
Yes.
Most municipalities are on what we call a pay-as-you-go, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to keep that OPEB fund solvent, because when that's on our balance sheet, as we are refunding a bond this evening, and I was on the phone an hour with Moody's today, Josephine and I, we get a better bond rating when they see these things on our balance sheet.
Yes, sir.
And so, just a very slight rating in the bond issues can cost us through a 10, 20-year period, can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, easily tens of thousands of dollars. So having $5 million, about $5.1 million as we sit here and speak in our OPEB fund, most municipalities don't even have that. So things aren't perfect in Monroeville. I don't think anybody here is saying that, but we understand the problems as you're talking about right now, Dave. And just to add a point, anybody that gets elected and sits up on this dais will have to wrestle with these problems. They're not black and white. You're sometimes robbing Peter to pay Paul, and what that is called policy decisions. And when you come up here, if you get elected, or if incumbents stay here, and if you're here, these problems are the ones that you're going to be presented with. They're not easy. They're difficult, as Dave is explaining. And we're not alone in this boat. Every municipality in the country, for that matter, is having problems with 2 big things: pensions and infrastructure. And you hear it nationally. Our 2 candidates for the President of the United States rant not about pensions, but it's sure going on in Harrisburg. But the infrastructure in this country is just deteriorating. And anybody that sits up here will have to wrestle with that and make decisions. Just a comment.
That's okay. I'll briefly summarize some of my comments on some of the other things. If anybody thinks that this is easy to reduce some of these costs, I believe it's approximately, and I think it's like $18 million is for wages and benefits for the municipality.
Well, very simply, 70% of our costs are fixed.
I was going to use that percentage.
70% are fixed.
So if you're going to do something, you have to address those wages and benefits. And it was in 2002 when the Carnegie Mellon University did that study, and they stated Monroeville has a structure that cannot be funded anymore. It cannot last. One of those things that council did back in 2000, I believe it was somewhere 2005, is they got rid of this extremely expensive health care benefit as far as prescription drugs are concerned. That alone saved Monroeville taxpayers at that time over $100,000. We used Part D. Actually, there was a resolution which was approved, and all of council voted for this resolution that says we're going to go now with Part D of Medicare. And it saved Monroeville an enormous amount of money. But was it a very popular decision to do up here? No. But these are the tough decisions that you have to do. The other thing, Mr. Little, we did raise taxes. It was called the occupational privilege tax. It was at $10. We raised it to $52. We were receiving approximately $330,000 a year just with that tax alone. When we increased it to $52, that brought in $1.6 million. So I can still see this table.
I mean, every municipality in the state did that.
Well, at first they didn't.
Yeah, that's true. You're right.
At first they didn't. So right now, because of what council did back then, and of course we've had some legislation from the state, as you well know, that has changed some of the stipulations in that. They change it like every week or so. I've forgotten exactly what it is, but we've hauled in approximately $800,000 extra just by raising that tax alone. So that concludes my remarks. It's not as simple. You hear these campaign promises, and believe me, I sat up there for 10 years. I know how difficult it is to make these decisions because you are not a very popular councilman when you are leading the charge to do some of these things. And I can assure you there are probably some people in this municipality who can say, yes, he's right.
Thank you, David.
So that concludes my remark. In fact, there's one right there, Mr. Duncan.
What? Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I will leave the floor open for any public comment. Seeing none, we'll close that portion of the meeting. Tom, we're going to start off with you, old man.
Thanks, Mayor. I just have a couple of things. This summer, the municipality is going to hire some summer help with students and from Gateway and post-secondary education and their grade report, copy of their transcripts, and a proof of residence. In my ward, we have Robert McCarl from Mallard Drive, Anthony Hamilton, and William Thomas. I'd like to welcome those young men to the municipality and good luck and have a safe summer. Thank you, Mayor.
Steve.
I'd just like to congratulate Mellon Plan for being there for 100 years. It's kind of...
Yeah, amen.
I'd like to announce, I had two very dear friends pass within 2 days of each other. Jim Morvay, a.k.a. Harco, he was the steward at number 3 Fire Hall at Mellon Plan. And Frank DePhillips. I mean, one day one passed and the next, and it was kind of altogether unexpected, so... And my thoughts and prayers are with his families. Lastly, I've been getting a lot of complaints, as the manager mentioned, in regards to people putting their garbage out too early. And we had a mess here on Monroeville Boulevard the other day. I know Public Works was called. There was garbage screwed everywhere, and their pickup wasn't until today. So, in other words, it was out 2 days ahead or a day ahead. So, yeah, if we could possibly send a reminder, maybe in the mailings.
Maybe in the water.
In the water or sewer bill. Other than that, I do want everybody to know, no matter, I wish everybody luck on, I'm going to bring politics into this, on the elections, but regardless of who gets on this seat, they don't have my vote against the manager or our chief of police. I personally busted my rear end to get both of them back and reinstated. So any rumors you may hear that I have anything different, that's not true. Lastly, happy Mother's Day to all you mothers out there.
Wow, you walk on dangerous ground.
That was a wide
Well,
open
yeah, I know, but the way... I'm leaving that alone. Ron.
I don't know if I can beat that. I was going to ask Chief Cole about where the hiring process stood. I think they're done with the interviews. I think they completed that today. There he is. Did you hear my question?
I did. Sorry, Ron, I was...
That's all right.
I got so close here. Yes, we finished the oral interviews today, and we're moving forward. Obviously, we're budgeted this year to hire 3, which we intend to do is, we're going to hopefully get the list done after the civil service meeting this month. I think it's on the 23rd, and we'll be able to certify or promulgate a list by the end of May, early July, and start the backgrounds.
Okay. That's good. Thank you. There is a ongoing project here that I just want to remind the residents and the council of, that updating the police and the radio room dispatch communication system, and we've been working very diligently at that. Chief Cole's been working very hard at that. He's got some state support on some grant money. We've put some money aside from council. A piece of that's going to go to Public Works to help buy them a new piece of equipment they need. The rest is going towards the communication system. And I bring this up just to keep you up to date where it is. There's a large grant put in for it through the state. We have some support there. And when it all comes down in the wash, we hope to pay for this whole thing without using any taxpayer or very little taxpayer money. And what that's going to do is bring our radio system up to date. There's been comments made out there that the police can't talk to the other police departments. Yes, they can. They just have to be patched through. But with the new radio system, that won't be the case, as all I have to do is change channels. And we're going to pass the old police radio equipment on to the Public Works Department to give them better communication. And ultimately, at the end of the day, the fire department, the police department, EMS, and Public Works are all going to be on the same wavelength. So should something bad happen in Monroeville, they literally can all go to a channel and talk to each other. And that's what we're pushing for. I want to reiterate to tell the residents, you don't want to get rid of this communication center down here. I've been talking to some people that, and I hate to call it rumor, it's not. It's actually been in the process that the county now has expanded to the point and has to renew some of their equipment, that the reason why a lot of municipalities went to them was this free. They could take their communication center out of the budget. Well, now they're going to start charging. They're thinking about charging every community that they dispatch by percentage by the number of calls they handle for them. So here it comes. The charges are coming. The county's no longer going to be free because they can't keep up with what that center's costing them down there. And I am so glad that we kept our own communication center here, both as a retired police officer and a fire chief, and now an elected official. Our communication center is excellent. Could it be better? So could everything. But they do a very good job down there in general, and we're going to update it, and it's going to get better. So that's the end of my report. Oh, good luck to everybody running for office.
Nick.
Yes, Mayor. This Saturday, May 13th, is the Valley Park Woods for Waters. They'll be planting 200 trees. We talked about this on Thursday for a riparian. Is that right, Paul?
Yes.
Riparian buffer planting. So they're planting trees to help with the Turtle Creek, Abers Creek down in that area. So it's at Valley Park. this Saturday, May 13th, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. If you're interested, you can show up, or you could ideally call Jamie Story here at the Municipal Building. It's 412-856-3335. I'm sure no one's writing that down, but if you call the main line, they'll get you to Jamie Story to say you're interested. 200 trees through the Allegheny Watershed Alliance and the Turtle Creek Watershed Association. This is down near Abers Creek, the Bel Air Pool, and just adjacent to or across the creek from the Westmoreland Heritage Trail that is currently under construction. So it's definitely a lot of things happening down there, very positive things. And a positive thing to go with that is the passing of the resolution this evening. So thanks to Council for the Active Allegheny Grant Program. This is for the proposed Monroeville Active Transportation Plan. So it's a way to make our community more pedestrian-friendly, bike-friendly, find ways to do this. I think we can really do a lot with the Westmoreland Heritage Trail coming through and a lot of our existing property. But this grant program is a good first step in creating these green walkways and bike pathways throughout the municipality. This Saturday as well, well, first I want to wish a healthy, speedy recovery to Chris Gilbert at the Senior Center. And this Saturday, actually, I'll be walking with him through Highmark's Walk for a Healthy Community. It's downtown, and the proceeds go to the Garden City United Methodist Church Food Pantry. So we're raising money for that. Mr. Wilson, thank you for your donation. Although I don't know if you're walking. You didn't volunteer for that. No. Okay. But at any rate, if anyone's interested in donating to this cause, please contact me, and I can set you up with whatever you need. There is an online link that you can do this. It's a long code, but if anybody's interested, contact me, and I can email you that link that you can donate for this cause. But that's this Saturday, downtown Pittsburgh. A congratulations to the Mellon Plan. We had a little bit of everything this meeting. We started off with the Mellon Plan celebration, the proclamation, which is a very positive thing, and the kind of things we should be celebrating in this town. And I thank those residents for coming out. We had some more heated things later on, which maybe aren't the best things for this community. But I do believe in First Amendment rights and First Amendment freedom of speech. However, also in this forum, I will. It's the mayor's position that runs the meetings. It's the mayor's call, whoever he or she is to run the meetings. And so mayor, as long as he's there, it's his call. So, but overall, hopefully we can get through this campaign season and move on to business here in the municipality and keep this a good town for everybody to be, living and working here. We're all residents here. We all are here for a reason. You're not just sitting in this audience or watching the TV right now because you don't care about this town. So hopefully May 16th, we'll get the ball rolling on getting some. I'm just happy to get people interested in joining. I wish the best of luck to my colleagues up here. I've been working with them for a few years now, and I've had very positive interactions with all of them. And I wish the challengers success as well. And it's just a good thing that people are getting involved. And let's continue to do that and try to make this a good town. Okay? So that's May 16th, this Tuesday. And then lastly, a very happy Mother's Day to my wife. She makes it look as easy, and it definitely is not. So that's all I have for this evening.
You're getting brownie points. Linda.
I will reiterate a couple things that I had spoke about on Thursday for anyone that did not hear. Duquesne Light will be installing a new light on Kelvington Drive around house number 174. The timeline is going to be about 4 weeks to complete. We might be down to 3 now, but somewhere in that vicinity to help with the lighting for the children playing at night and the people taking the walks. So that's happening. The residents on Grandview, we will be installing some speed limit signs as well as children at play for the safety of your families. There was a lot of complaints from the young families there, and of course we want to keep the young families, keep them happy, keep the children safe. So we are going to be putting signage up. As Mr. Wilson has stated, all the letters have gone out for our summer employment program to everyone that had applied, and I'd like to welcome them all and looking forward to a great season together. The Senior Center. All the new equipment that was budgeted for has arrived. It is installed. It is ready for use. Please stop by. If you do not already belong to the center, it might be a great time to join. If you do, please go and enjoy the equipment. Tomorrow is the last day to purchase tickets for the Hoedown, which is on May 17th at 12 o'clock. The cost is $6. There will be food, music, and dancing. Let's all remember that Tuesday, May 16th is Election Day, as everyone else has said. Please use your freedom of choice and go out and vote. I wish everyone the best, as well as the people running against us. I wish you all the best as well. And lastly, tomorrow is my husband's birthday, so happy birthday, honey. I love you dearly, and thanks for putting up with me through this election. With that, I'm done.
Okay. I promise I'll be real quick. Happy Mother's Day to my
Yeah, I
wife
did
and
say
daughter.
Happy
Oh, yeah,
Mother's
Ron,
Day,
you
didn't
had
I?
one more issue to bring up. I
I think Happy
apologize
Mother's
for
Day is
that.
right at my
I didn't really forget this. I wanted to wait till the end. Yesterday was my 35th wedding anniversary, and I just want to wish my wife a happy anniversary. And where were we? At a political debate.
Yeah.
So,
That's not good brownie points.
And if I forgot Happy Mother's Day,
but anyway,
Did I
so
forget?
happy anniversary,
God.
Nance. Thanks for putting up with me.
Nancy, you're a saint.
we love you, Nance.
We done?
Yeah.
Okay. No, seriously, happy Mother's Day to my wife and my daughter. They're great moms, and to all the moms out there, happy Mother's Day. You guys keep us, I'll speak for myself. My wife keeps me on the straight and narrow, and thank God for her, and that's 33 years with her, and wouldn't know what to do without her. Congratulations to Mellon Plan. That's 100 years. That's pretty cool. And I wish I would have talked to that one young lady, Diane. I believe that was her name, that had a lot more information that we could find. That would have made it a heck of a lot easier.
Yeah.
Please don't forget to vote out there on May 16th. A lot of people have given their lives, so we have that right. If you look across the globe and, you know, the world has gotten a lot smaller with all the technology, we're pretty damn fortunate to be able to pick and choose who we want to represent us. So please, get out there and vote. I just have one comment. I was going to do more, but my comment has to do with the stating that Monroeville is the toilet city that was put out there with all this crime and all this bad stuff going on. And yes, there is an opioid issue. That's across the entire country. We certainly have our issue here. It's in our schools. It's in our neighborhoods. Now, I'm going to tell you what. Our police department, under the direction of Chief Cole, does a fabulous job out there. They work with the county people, the state people, and the federal people. I wish I could give you the answer that we could stop it today. If you put 1,000 cops on the street right now, let's be very honest about it, it's not going to stop crime. If two people, or even one person, or a group of people decide today they're going to rob PNC or rob my home, how's anybody going to know that until it happens? Think about that. We do a damn good job. I'm sorry to tell you that some of the folks running for mayor think our chief doesn't have good control of our department. He teaches on a national level. We are so blessed to have Doug here. And I'm not saying that because my friend, I've worked with him as the mayor. I know his dedication. Does Monroeville have issues? You damn right. Tell me, show me one city in America that doesn't. Show me one person, I don't care, but whoever sits in my chair come January, what that one person thinks they could do to stop crime, stop the opioid at this level. Hell, the federal government don't even know what the hell to do. We're doing the best we can, and we have a good leader with Doug. We have good council members up here that support our department. Think about all the services you get. Tell me where you can, public service, our public department, Public Works Day, if you even miss your garbage day, you can pick up the phone, hey, I was on vacation, can you send a truck? They'll come and help you. They'll clean it up for you. Think about the senior center. My God, the county would take our senior center like this. You know why? It's the best in the state, I would venture to say. I know it's the best in Allegheny County. We have wonderful services. Our library's doing well. That dispatch center, Ron touched on it much better than I did. Yeah, is it expensive? You damn right it is. What cost do you put on a life? When you call into that dispatch, be it the 856-1111 or the 911, you're going to be talking to one of your own people that live here with us. They know the streets, and I'll bet they know a good number of the residents by name. You're never going to get that personal touch that knows the paper streets, because remember, Ron, you guys worked on all them, getting them all named. The fire departments did that. We have 5 fire departments, all volunteer. We have some of the finest equipment, finest men and women that serve us. I'm sorry, I know I'm preaching, but I don't like anybody that wants to sit in this seat thinks Monroeville is not a wonderful place to live. And it is. Do we have issues? You damn right we do. But again, as I said earlier, show me a city that doesn't. I can go on, but ladies and gentlemen, I also want to apologize if I upset anyone with my comments, and I apologize to you, Steve.
That's fine. You don't have to apologize.
No, I do. 'Cause you're my friend.
Yes.
But I'm sorry. Maybe I'm wrong, but I still believe in the freedom of speech.
I do also.
And if you all want to set the tone through a resolution, I'm not picking on you, Steve, that no politics, I'm fine with that. But I'm just telling you, in all my years sitting up here, I have never stopped anybody talking politics, disagreeing with us, arguing with us, agreeing with us, or anything in between. With that, I'll seek a motion to adjourn.
Mayor, I got to say one other thing also. The freedom of speech is good, but we only get 5 minutes of it.
Well, we broke that.
Oh, yes.
I agree.
Motion to adjourn.
Mayor, I forgot to wish my wife a happy Mother's Day.
Well, you're in trouble, Tom. We
I
can't
know.
help you on that.
I know. And also, congratulations to Mellon Plant.
All right, there's a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you and good night.
See you.